Hey guys, it's Penelope in London, and we're going to look at this chart, and it's my chart, and then we're jumping over to Solar Fire. I just want to show you what is going on. There's so much going on in the world, and it's fascinating to see the planets play out and events that are occurring. Mind-blowing with the Mercury, Neptune, Mercury retrograde. Also, Jupiter is in conjunct to Mars. I'm just going to show you, Mars has just moved into the sign of Leo. So really, this video is a bit about that, and then a few of the aspects that are going on. But what you would do, you'd look at your own chart, and you would, if you like, here you see, this is mine. This is from astro.com, www.astro.com. Put your time, date, place in, and you get your rising sign, and then you will know what house that's falling in for you. So for me, Mars has moved into Leo up here in my 8th house, but then it will be going into my 9th house. So for me, my Mars will be in my 8th and 9th. So you can see that it's intercepted there. So look at your chart and see where it's playing out for you. What you can do then is understand that the Mars is Aries based, you know, they're connected, but we've also got that Leo, the ruler, is the sun. So what does Mars mean? So Mars is the fuel that operates the ego as ruled by the sun. It represents the residual traces of man's animal nature, which enables him to assert his aggressive nature and prey on those who are weaker. Now this is actually, who's saying this is Robert Pelletier. It's Planets in Aspect I'm reading from. So, you know, we can, what I just read is like, don't take things literally. Astrology is symbolism, and everybody's got different words and ways of describing things. It is the dominant male characteristic, but it's also the warrior. Yeah, it's the warrior in us also, and it's in both male and female. It's not just male energy. Mars is the assertion of self rather than will, and is constantly in search of challenging competitors. It is a force of nature that establishes the survival of the fittest and therefore directs evolution towards perfection, even though this is not intended. And, you know, perfection doesn't really, in my books anyway, it's quite illusionary perfection. But there is perfection like in flowers and beauty and nature. And he goes on to say, I said that bit, but he goes on to say, even though this is not intended, it indicates the desire nature so essential to the survival of the species. In the animal kingdom, this role is extremely important. When this urge becomes distorted by self-seeking, it can seem coarse and vulgar. It is especially resistant to reason and logic. And that's because it's impulsiveness as well with Mars. It can be, and also it's especially resistant to reason and logic, preferring to act first and think later. If at all, Mars, the divisive force, reduces harmony to conflict so that it can then proceed to restore unity. In this way, it compensates for the indulgent apathy that limits development and growth. It brings about disorder, which induces its polar opposite, Venus, to restore order. Thus, an endless dynamic action reaction is established. So then what we have is that the house, you know, it covers the 5th house. So what is the 5th house? I know mine it's going through my 9th house, but the feel of the 5th house is, this is the area of fun, romance, creativity, children, including our inner child, and healthy self-expression. The joy is coming from our heart. It's where the joy comes from our heart. The 5th is about expressing ourselves in creative ways and celebrating ourselves as expressive beings in the same spirit. The 5th is also about speculation and risk-related activities. It's time to look and see if we are having enough fun and joy in our lives. But on its impulsive side, it can, you know, do something else there. What we have, the other thing from Evolutionary Astrology, which is really beautiful, we've got some Leo keywords, and we've got creative self-actualization. Actually, what I'm going to do is move over to the solar fire. So you see here, you've got spotlight. And here, that's Mars at 0 degrees of Leo. So Leo keywords are creative self-actualization. It's grandiosity, subjective awareness. It's the artist, it's power, ruler, king, queen. It's the arts, drama, involvement, integration, purpose. It's where we can be full of self, approval, exhibitionism, applause, involvement, and subjective awareness, being noticed, you know, the lion, the Leo, the sun, and special recognition. It's fame, romance, creativity, child prodigy, the artist, the gambler, the actress, risk taker, affairs as well, and children and the inner child. And the Mars aspect, if we look at this, we've got at the moment, this is called an inconjunct. If you look at Mars here and you take it up to Jupiter up here, that's 150, that's just nearly 150 degrees apart. So this aspect, which I've been seeing play out today in the news, I don't watch the news, but I get news updates through my social media. It's where the definition is it's taking care of others can be a way of putting them down. You need to recognize your own competitive instincts for what they are rather than masking them in the idea of service to others. Evaluate any projects before you get involved. Your great energy and humanitarian spirit can get linked to other people's unrealistic. Now think about what's happening in the world. Unrealistic expectations in a way that leaves you drained and unappreciated. If you're unable to evaluate your everyday habits in a positive way, you will see whether or not they support your long-term goals. So we've got to watch what's going on. I'd love to go so much deeper into this, but it's, you know, I'm keeping it light. And then the other thing that's really fascinating whilst that Mars is in conjunct to Jupiter is the Mercury square Neptune, and the Mercury is retrograde at 19 degrees here, and Neptune is at 23. So this Mercury is going retrograde, and then it's going to go forward again. So it's going to be in contact with this for the next week or so before it moves off. It's going to go back the next couple of weeks actually as it goes back, and then it's going to go forward. So it's touching in with Neptune, which is beyond this realm, the five senses. It's a great dissolver. It dissolves things, but it's also where we can be, you know, the grandiosity of the imagination as well. And you can see here disillusionment as well. And you can see here that we've got Mercury involved, which is our communication, which is tricky times right now because we're trying to figure things out, society. So let's read this from Robert Pelletier, Planets in Aspect. I'll put the book in the link below. So Mercury square Neptune shows that your imagination often gets in the way of logical thinking. Your fear of responsibility causes problems in both emotional and marital affairs. You seem unable to view life realistically, and by supposedly logical arguments can convince yourself that an unbearable reality doesn't exist. The resulting distortion further complicates matters so that the truth is completely hidden. You are an escapist, a problem partly caused by early parental conditioning, and that's for all of us. You may have this aspect, which can be hard, but you know, we've got other aspects in our charts, so we don't want to give ourselves a hard time. But when we look at the symbols, we can see where we've got, I wouldn't say weakness as such, but dispositions, our disposition. So then, until you face up to harsh reality of the world outside, your progress will be limited. This is collective right now, so this is important. Because of your extreme sensitivity, superficial problems become exaggerated. And we have the talent to express, but we must prepare for occasional setbacks when we expose ourselves to competition. The challenge of competition can threaten our success unless we exercise self-control and become more confident. We must train our intellectual abilities in order to gain self-confidence. We need to be honest with ourselves at all times as we develop our capabilities so that we will understand our limitations. eventually we can succeed in writing and all of these different things that, you know, this is if you've got the aspect, but giving you a feel of what this means. It's where we need to clarify our objectives and learn to focus our attention on one specific thing at a time. This is important to, there's too much going on and too many, it can, you know, it can show up in weakness when we're under pressure, and it will defeat us. So our best bet is to involve ourselves in activities that serve other people's needs. Exposure to problems will help solve our own as well. And it's where we need to be cautious of, you know, and be conservative in romantic alliances, for our imagination can play tricks. If we interpret a person's casual interest as an indication of love, we could be disappointed, as an example. Above all, don't make any commitments to others until they establish their sincerity. So we need to really look at this, that right at the moment, we need to, you know, still take care of ourselves and do what's right for us, because, you know, the mind, Mercury and Neptune, Mercury is left brain, and it's causing distortion. That Neptune up there is causing distortion. So we need to, you know, basically, we can develop creative talents at this time alone, so we don't feel too lonely. So right now, like, I'm making a YouTube, you know, I'm doing things that are practical, and I'm aware of what these symbols mean. I think that's it. The Mars, that's the other thing. The Mars is going to stay in the sign of Leo. It's from the June 11th until July 29th. And of course, that Mars is going to be doing other things with other planets. You know, we can see it's been just coming out of an opposition to Pluto, which it's been in for the last week or so. At the moment, we've got Venus and the moon together. That's quite beautiful. And we've got the sun and Mercury, but Mercury's retrograde, so it will go over the sun again. And we've got, you know, the great square we've got all this year, Saturn square to Uranus, which I've made other videos on. Anyway, this short video, and I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll catch you later. Give me a like if you haven't already, and subscribe. Thank you.